Melody Shari and Destiny Payton wasn't just a simple conversation or an attempt to fix a broken friendship. It felt like a moment where everything was finally being laid out in the open. Melody didn't come just to talk. She came prepared with details, timelines, and a clear approach, which immediately shifted the tone of the conversation. Their relationship hadn't always been this tense, as they once shared mutual respect and a genuine connection. But over time, small changes, subtle comments, and unspoken tension created distance between them. When Destiny began making remarks that many saw as indirect shots, social media quickly got involved, with people choosing sides and questioning what really happened. While all of this was building, Melody remained silent, and that silence seemed intentional, like she was observing, processing, and preparing for the right moment to respond. When they finally sat down, what was expected to be a calm discussion quickly turned into something much deeper. The conversation started off steady, with both addressing the breakdown of their friendship, but the energy shifted when Melody began speaking in detail, referencing specific situations and pointing out inconsistencies in what had been said before. Instead of raising her voice or becoming emotional, she stayed calm and direct, presenting her side in a structured and controlled way, which made the moment feel less like a discussion and more like a case being presented. Destiny's reactions, however, showed visible emotion, moments of surprise, frustration, and being caught off guard, which only added to how viewers interpreted the situation. As expected, social media exploded with mixed opinions. Some praised Melody for defending herself with clarity and composure, while others felt the approach was too calculated and took away from the possibility of genuine resolution. At its core, the situation reflects how fragile trust can be once it's broken. What may have started as small misunderstandings eventually grew into something much bigger, influenced by miscommunication, outside opinions, and possibly even unspoken competition. The presence of cameras only intensified everything, turning a private issue into a public debate where every word and reaction was analyzed. Body language also played a major role in how the moment was perceived. Melody appeared composed and in control, while Destiny showed more emotion, and that contrast alone shaped how people chose sides. In the end, this wasn't just about who was right or wrong, it was about how both of them now see each other, and that shift makes it hard to imagine any real reconciliation. Looking at the bigger picture, the situation also highlights an important reality. Not every friendship is meant to last forever. Sometimes relationships end not with closure, but with distance and silence. Whether Melody was simply telling her truth or strategically controlling the narrative depends on perspective, and it's possible that both things can be true at the same time. What remains clear is that how someone chooses to respond, especially in a public setting, can shape not only the outcome of the situation, but also how they are perceived moving forward. This is why so many people are invested, because beyond the reality TV drama, it reflects real-life experiences of broken trust, miscommunication, and the difficult choice between confronting issues head-on or keeping them private. As the situation continued to unfold, it became even clearer that this wasn't something that could be easily fixed with one conversation. The emotional distance between Melody Shari and Destiny Payton had already grown too deep. Even in moments where it seemed like they might find some common ground, there was a noticeable hesitation, like both of them were holding back, unwilling to fully open up or trust the process. Those pauses, the silence between certain responses, and the way they carefully chose their words all pointed to unresolved feelings that went far beyond what was shown on camera. Another layer in all of this is pride. When two people feel strongly about their version of events, it becomes difficult to step back and meet in the middle. Both Melody and Destiny appeared firm in their positions, and when that happens, conversations often turn into defense rather than understanding. Instead of trying to rebuild the connection, the focus shifts to protecting personal truth and image. In a private setting, there might have been more room for vulnerability, but with cameras present and public opinions waiting, the pressure to stand strong only increases. The role of the audience cannot be ignored either. Once viewers began analyzing every detail, every expression, every tone, every pause, the situation took on a life of its own. Supporters from both sides added fuel to the fire, reinforcing beliefs and making it even harder for either woman to step back without feeling like they were losing. In many ways, the public reaction became just as powerful as the conversation itself, shaping the narrative and influencing how everything was perceived afterward. At the same time, this moment also shows how differently people handle conflict. Melody chose a calm, structured approach, relying on clarity and preparation, while Destiny expressed more visible emotion, reacting in real time to what was being said. Neither approach is necessarily wrong, they simply reflect different ways of dealing with hurt and confrontation. However, when those styles clash, it often leads to even more misunderstanding, as each person may feel the other isn't responding in the right way. Moving forward, it seems likely that both will continue on separate paths, focusing on their own lives rather than trying to repair what's been broken. Sometimes distance becomes the only solution when trust and communication can no longer align. And while fans may hope for closure or reconciliation, real life doesn't always provide neat endings. In some cases, growth comes not from fixing the relationship, but from letting it go and learning from what happened. Ultimately, this entire situation leaves one lasting thought. Conflict isn't always about who is right or wrong, but how people choose to handle the aftermath. For Melody and Destiny, this moment may define their relationship moving forward, not because of what was said, but because of how it was said and how it was received. And in the world of reality TV, where everything is amplified and remembered, those moments tend to last much longer than the conversation itself. As everything continues to settle, one thing becomes even clearer. The damage between Melody Shari Rogers and Destiny Payton goes beyond just a disagreement. It reflects a deeper disconnect that likely built over time, layer by layer, until it reached a point where a simple conversation could no longer fix it. What we witnessed wasn't just tension from one moment, but the result of unresolved issues that had been sitting beneath the surface for a long time. There's also the reality that once people begin to question each other's intentions, it becomes incredibly difficult to rebuild trust. Every word starts to feel calculated, every action gets analyzed, and even genuine efforts can be misunderstood. In this situation, it seemed like both Melody and Destiny were no longer just responding to what was being said in the moment, but to everything that had happened before. That kind of emotional buildup can make even the smallest conversation feel heavy and overwhelming. Another key factor here is timing. Sometimes conversations happen too late, after too much has already been said, done, and felt. By the time Melody decided to speak up with clarity and detail, Destiny had already formed her own perspective, and vice versa. When both people feel strongly about their truth, it creates a standstill where neither side is fully open to shifting their view. And without that openness, real resolution becomes nearly impossible. It's also worth considering how much of this situation was influenced by perception versus reality. What viewers saw was only a portion of the full story, shaped by editing, timing, and presentation. Yet those moments became the foundation for public opinion. This adds another layer of pressure because now it's not just about resolving a personal issue, it's about managing how that issue is seen by thousands of people. And in that kind of environment, emotions can become even more guarded and reactions more intentional. At this stage, it seems likely that both may benefit more from distance than continued confrontation. Not every situation needs a final conversation or a perfect ending. Sometimes clarity comes from stepping away rather than trying to force understanding. Growth doesn't always look like reconciliation. It can also look like setting boundaries and choosing peace over ongoing conflict. In the end, what stands out most is how this situation mirrors real-life experiences. Friendships can change, people can grow apart, and not every bond is meant to last forever. What truly matters is how individuals move forward, what they learn, how they protect their peace, and how they carry those lessons into future relationships. For Melody